Welcome to Business Talk, presented in collaboration with the University of Rio Grande and the Ohio State University South Centers, from the heart of southeastern Ohio at the University of Rio Grande TV studio. Our goals are simple: promote the University of Rio Grande and the Ohio State University South Centers, as well as advocate local small business and their support organizations. More importantly, promote southeastern Ohio as a wonderful place to live, explore, and learn. There are many different ways you can find us. The University of Rio Grande Cable Access Channel 17, live online at blogtalkradio.com, and on YouTube if you are unable to catch our show live. Introducing our co-hosts, Jason Winters, Mike Thompson, Patrick Dengel. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, welcome back to our show. We have a really good guest that's going to be enlightening all of us on this. You know, Jason, I've been involved with the Small Business Development Program for about 20 years. And when I was a young fledgling, I've been practicing that word, by the way.
That's good. I'm impressed.
When I was a young fledgling, we had a training program up in Athens, Ohio. And there, a number of bankers sat down with us newly impressionable small business development people, and they gave us an education on the banking community. And one speaker in particular happened to be our guest today, and he said something that I have lived with for the rest of my working career. And he said that when, and I'm going to paraphrase, he said that when individuals did not pay back their loans, that became a grant. And I have used that with some of my clients when they come in looking for grants. I say, well, just don't pay back the loan, and then it'll be a grant, you know, sarcastically. But it has been a pleasure working with Dan Mooney. He's a regional representative vice president with Wesbanco, located in Ironton, Ohio. They have locations throughout Ohio. The parent company is an affiliate of Wheeling, West Virginia. And Dan has had a number of years involved in the banking industry. He started his banking in 1972.
And today?
Today he is still working with Wesbanco, and probably for the next 20, 30 years he'll continue his banking career. And maybe we can share some of his accomplishments throughout our broadcast. But Dan has been very actively involved in the community. He was the former governor-appointed trustee of Shawnee State University, chairman of the board. So he has a whole list of different things that he's been involved. So Dan Mooney, thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it, and I'm going to revise your story about the training session. I think what I meant to say, if I didn't say that, is that unfortunately I do have a number of customers in my 43-year banking history that unfortunately thought the loan that I gave them was a grant because they didn't feel like they needed to pay it back. But I appreciate the invitation. Thanks for the invitation and having me on. Let me, if I could, let me give you a little introduction to Wesbanco. As you said, Wesbanco is headquartered out of Wheeling, West Virginia. It's been around for about 165 years. It's now an $8.3 billion financial institution. We've got about 1,800 employees working in roughly 143 branches throughout northern West Virginia, as far south as Charleston. We're in western Pennsylvania, primarily Pittsburgh. We just acquired a financial institution there, which jumped us from about $6.5 billion up to the $8.3 billion. And we're all throughout southern Ohio, just a straight line across I-70. We're in Cambridge and Columbus and Dayton and Springfield and then Cincinnati and then all throughout the southeast. My world consists primarily, I'm a river rat. My market primarily is Lawrence County and Scioto County, Ohio, then of course the tri-state area. So yes, got my beginnings in January 10th of 1972, so I have been in banking for a little over 43 years and have certainly seen a lot of changes over that period of time. So,
and primarily that's been working with small businesses, correct?
It has been, yes. I've been in banking for 43 years, as I said. I've been in lending for probably 40 of that 43 years, and started out in the installment loan department, working with consumer loans. I was there and collections. That's where I got the Grant reference. But worked in retail for probably 3 or 4 years, and then moved over into the real estate mortgage area, and then into the commercial lending area, where I actually headed both the real estate and the commercial for a while. But commercial lending is so intricate that I passed the mortgage off to someone else, and I stayed pretty much with commercial lending. As I mentioned to you earlier today, I've actually only worked for 3 different banks, but I've drawn paychecks with 7 different names on them. So,
I understand. The market for different banks or the different names, etc. It really comes down to what bank serves the needs of the community.
Exactly, and that's one thing I'll say about Wesbanco. I mean, we're publicly traded. We're listed in one of the top 25 banks in the country by a financial analysis firm called KBW, and that stands for 3 names that Keefe and something and Woods. I can't remember the 3 names, but that's a new recognition, and it's one that we're very proud of, being in the top 25 in the country. We're traded on the NASDAQ exchange under the symbol of WSBC. WSBC,
okay.
As in Wesbanco, and we've got a lot of the modern technology. We've got a very sophisticated online banking program. We have the new Apple iPay that, I'll be honest with you, I don't quite understand yet, and I don't have the i6 that I need to be able to do it with. But
that's the one where you can take the photograph of the check and
your flip phone. Yes, we have that.
Yeah.
So your old flip phone wouldn't work. No. But
I am going to update someday.
Wesbanco, like I said, at $8.3 billion it's a bank that is large enough to be able to offer those more sophisticated banking products like the online banking and the Apple iPay, but yet we deliver those products. We're still very much a community bank, because you walk into our places and you know the people, and you know who you're banking with, and to me that's just a perfect winning combination, and it's the best bank I've worked for. So,
well, I know that there has been some discussion about banks going totally online, where the people that serve the customers, etc., are just getting too expensive. But I disagree with that. I think a bank is a part of your life.
Well, I totally agree, and you let the numbers speak for themselves. I'm primarily in lending, and a big part of lending, of course, is mortgage lending. And if you look at the foreclosures, and they have been on the increase. They've kind of been on the decrease, because I think the market's just exhausted. But most of the foreclosures come from your online banks and your large regional banks that have no local presence. So, you may get a cheaper rate, you may get maybe faster service from an online bank, but when it comes to trying to solve a problem that you have, try to find somebody.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're very, very true. We hear a lot in the educational fields and on TV about what banks and bankings have been doing wrong. What has the banking community done right, in your estimation? Wesbanco is very, very strong, and some of the other area banks are very strong too. What have we been doing right?
We have some pretty recent history with the started back in 2008 and 2009. When the economy started to kind of head south. Wesbanco was fortunate in that we realized what was coming. You know, we could see the wave coming, and we started preparing for it. We started looking inwardly, and we actually turned off the production faucet for a while. My primary job is to be out on the road, you know, to make new contacts, meet new people, companies, businesses, make more loans. But we started focusing inwardly, and we realized that maybe we need to get back in touch with our customers a little bit better. We need to get closer to them. We need to update our financial histories on them. We need to maybe update some appraisals. We need to go back and look at the old appraisals and kind of analyze some of the math that was done in those appraisals to tell us, you know, how they arrived at the values that we loaned against. And I've got to say, we did that sooner than a lot of other local banks did, and we were able to work with the customers to do some refinancing or to do some modifications that actually helped a lot of our customers, I think, kind of weather the you know, the tough times that were ahead. So,
do you feel that small businesses that by getting a loan they'll be okay, or do you feel that small businesses, there's a variety of different factors that
you know, businesses are as different as the people that own and run them, and businesses are like fingerprints. You know, everyone is different because of the way people are different, and the different ways they think, and the different ways they manage. And you and I had talked a little bit earlier, made reference to pocket economies. There are areas of this region that are improving, and there are areas that maybe haven't quite seen the depth of the economic recession quite yet. So the problem is not over by any means. But that said, interest rates are very low, and if you do the right thing, if you have the right plan, nice segue.
Yeah.
If you have the right plan, then banks are starting to loosen up their credit standards a little bit, and they're starting to, you know, let go of their wallets a little bit, and overall we're seeing a positive trend, and things are, I think, getting better.
So let's go into that a little deeper. We're a small business. We're coming to you and we need money to get started or to expand. What are you looking for in a potential borrower?
Plan is one of the four things that I want to address if we have enough time. Business plans are very important. A lot of customers roll their eyes and they say, you know, why do I have to go through all that? You know, because that's 30 pages of information or whatever that I don't really think I need. I mean, I know what I'm doing, and I just need to convince you that I know what I'm doing so that you'll loan me the money. I disagree. And you and I have known each other for 20 years, roughly. And I know that you have brought a lot of people to the bank, a lot of potential customers to the bank. You've helped them put together their business plan. And in my opinion, a business plan is just crucially important, because if nothing else, it's a discipline. A business plan requires you to sit down and think about some things that maybe normally you wouldn't have thought about. You know, things like payroll taxes, things like that nasty thing that, you know, banks charge called interest. You know, interest on your loan. And you know, property taxes and other payroll related, you know, issues that maybe you haven't taken into consideration. So, you know, it's vitally important, I think, for businesses, startup businesses, people wanting to open up a business, and existing business owners who want to expand their business. I think it's crucially important to put together a business plan.
Do you feel that it's important for a business owner to have a lot of information at the very beginning, a lot of fluff, a lot of...
No, I don't need the fluff. I don't need the drama. You know, I don't want to read somebody's, you know, I had
aspiration.
Well, I had a dream speech. You know, I'm interested in. I want the business plan to be realistic.
Okay.
I want it to be factual. By the time I finish reading the business plan with the financial projections and everything, I want to know everything. I want to know everything that you know about the business, exactly how much is it going to cost. I want to know how much money you're putting into it. And ideally, I want to read the business plan, formulate any questions, and you and I get back together and we answer those questions. But
what happens if there's a hole? Do you want individuals to be upfront and honest and say, well, I went bankrupt 7 years ago?
Absolutely. Because I'm going to find out anyway. You know, when I pull your credit report, I'm going to find out your credit history, and hopefully you've been truthful on your personal financial statement too, and your personal financial statement has to substantiate what you tell me in the business plan. And in other words, if it says that you have $20,000 in equity that you're putting into this business, and I look at your personal financial statement and I see that you have $2,000 in cash, where's the other $18,000 coming from? Because I'm going to look at every number and every word that's in your business plan. And when you do the financial projections, they've got to make sense. They've got to be conservative. We really want you to try to estimate what your revenues, estimate your revenues at something less than what you really think the business is going to be capable of doing, and estimate your expenses a little bit less than what you really expect them to be, so that at the end of or a little more, than what you really think they'll be, so that at the end of the day, the net margin that you're looking at is maybe a true number, and don't think that your business is, if you're starting up a new business and you anticipate or you project that you're going to make $1.2 million a year. Well, that's not equally divided $100,000 a month, because you're not going to hit the ground running at $100,000 a month. There's going to be a certain ramp-up period.
Yeah,
you've got to reflect those things.
So one of the questions that I'm always that I look for is when you do the cash flow projections, etc. I see salary. And oftentimes new business owners will say, well, whatever is left over. Mm-hmm. How do you...
Well, that's the right answer. And whatever you do, don't do like one customer of mine did and write into the projections $10,000 for me and my wife to take a Florida vacation 2 weeks before business opening, because we know we're going to be busy afterwards, so we won't have time. So we want to borrow, I've got customers that I've had for years, successful customers, that the word vacation is not even in their vocabulary.
That's right.
Now, true, they may tack on an extra day before or day after some kind of a trade show in New York or Las Vegas or something, and that's okay.
Sure.
They're entitled to that.
I understand. So. But when it comes to salary, though, shouldn't you at least project out things that you know personally that you're going to need? You're in business to make also money.
Well, you are. Last time I checked, the word profit was not a dirty word.
That's right.
But here again, be conservative.
Yeah, that is correct.
It's also important to hire the right people. We have a lot of customers who are very, very, there are a lot of people out there, I'll say, that are very, very good at what they do. They're very good at manufacturing this item. I think your 2 o'clock show is going to be about a gentleman that does some crafting, ceramic crafting,
very good.
and
very good.
I'm sure he's very good at what he does.
Yes.
What's most important, or more important, or at least as important, is to know what to do with that money once you make it. I'll have customers that admittedly say, I know how to make this thing, but I'm not a bookkeeper, I'm not an accountant, and I've got to trust my sister-in-law to take care of that. Well, I wouldn't trust my sister-in-law to do anything, but I'm just saying that recognize your own strengths and hire the right people that you trust, but don't just turn it all over to them. It's not their business; it's your business.
I tend to agree.
So you've got to stay involved in the business. You've got to ask questions. If you don't know how to read financial reports, learn to, so that you can recognize trends as they're happening in your business, so that you can encounter problems when they may exist. So
well, you probably seen a number of individuals have what is called pocket accounting.
Yeah.
Basically, whatever money you do, you put it in one pocket and then you pay from the other pocket. Yeah, and that is no longer
It's called good old boy lending.
Good old boy lending, yes.
We don't do that anymore.
Right, and with good reason, because things are quite complicated when it comes to the banking industry.
Banking is probably one of the most regulated industries there is, and we have to substantiate, we have to prove to the regulators and the examiners and the auditors every penny that we loan out. So, we no longer work with a fellow that comes in and says, now Dan, I know my tax return only says that I made $30,000, but I actually made $100,000 last year. Well, sorry, but I've got to base my loan decision based on what you're telling the government.
That's right, because the government looks over your shoulder.
Oh, sure they do.
Looks over any bank.
Looks over your shoulder and pounds you on the top of the head, and so forth.
And then you have the FDIC and
FDIC,
the DLSIC or whatever it is.
Yeah, pick an acronym.
Yeah.
One thing I want to mention too, though, is a business owner has got to be willing to pledge whatever the bank feels, I guess, is necessary to support the loan. We're going to look at the business plan. We're going to look for weaknesses, but we're going to look, if the weaknesses are so, blown out, then we may not be able to do it. But we're going to look for any weaknesses in the credit, but we're also going to try to find ways to mitigate those weaknesses. And if we may have a collateral shortfall, then we may ask for a mortgage on your personal residence. And there's been a lot of times that I'll be talking to a very astute borrower or an applicant, but when I get to that part of the conversation, they'll coil up and they'll say, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm not going to pledge my residence. That's my house. That's where I live. I'm not going to pledge that on my loan." Well, let me tell you, if you don't have enough confidence in your own abilities to absolutely pledge everything you've got, then why should I have enough confidence in you?
Very true. That's very true.
And we also want to make sure that the business plans include provisions for adequate working capital, because there are a lot of businesses that have gone out of business that were showing a profit on their income statements, but they went out of business because they didn't have the cash to operate with, and that it's crucial. The bank never wants to loan you more money than what you really need, but if you're starting up a new business or expanding an existing business, we want to make darn sure that you do have enough cash flow.
Sure.
So
there's nothing worse than
cash flow is king.
Yeah, nothing worse than the second month you're out of cash and you need to borrow some money for inventory.
Exactly.
And oftentimes banks are very conservative on giving out third and fourth and fifth loans off of poorly planned projections.
Well,
Dan,
poorly planned, that's the key.
We've talked an awful lot about the plan. What about the entrepreneur themselves? How important is the entrepreneur spirit in making a loan?
Crucially important. You've got to have a passion for what you're getting into, because and you got to make me passionate about it, I guess. You've got to do a sales job, but I can usually, after 43 years of banking, a lot of times I can recognize pretty quickly who has that entrepreneurial spirit and who has what it takes and who doesn't have what it takes to even have a chance at being successful at their business.
Because we all know that everyone starts a business, they only have to work 20 hours a week.
Right. Right. And then you get to Tuesday.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I had one person say, "I only work half a day." That's from 12 to 12.
I think I told you that.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah, my boss told me that. He said, "Dan, your first day on the job," I was talking to him, and he said, "We only expect you to work half a day, and what you do with the other 12, is up to you." So, anyway.
Dan, we have about 3 more minutes, and this is just fascinating stuff. And I know we've only touched the topic. What are a couple things you would like to leave the listening and viewing audience with? Communication is so important in this and any other business, and
Through these last several years, from '08 and '09 and so forth, we've seen the economy kind of head south, and I only wish that some of my borrowers had communicated with me sooner to let me know that they were having problems, because there may have been ways that I could have helped them. We could have restructured some things. We could have allowed them to pay interest only for a while. We could have even made some additional note to them to try to carry them through some of the lean times. But unfortunately, they didn't contact me. And
sometimes they're fearful.
Well, they're proud.
Yeah, and they're proud.
They're proud, and they're embarrassed
Yeah.
to come in and tell you that I've got problems.
Yeah.
And but when your business is on the line, and your life savings and your personal residence, when all that is on the line, you got to swallow that pride,
Yeah,
and you've got to
that's
come
true.
communicate, because earlier is better, and there are so many people and agencies out there that can help you. You're a primary source through the Small Business Development Center. You provide great help to business owners. The SBA, Small Business Administration, through its SCORE program, which stands for Senior Corps of Retired Executives. It's made up of retired executives, people that have been in business, who volunteer their services and time and come back and help existing businesses. And then there's the RMA, which used to stand for Robert Morris Associates. Robert Morris was one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence and actually set up the country's, the young government's financial structure. But now they've changed the name to Risk Management Associates. But it's SBA.gov. I assume you're some kind of an SBDC.org.
Yes. Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and RMA.org and so forth.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
ask, if you need the help, ask for it. Don't be afraid to ask.
Dan, I want to thank you very much. I hope that you will come back. We wanted to get into some of your amusing stories.
I've got a bunch of them.
We just ran out of time, so you do have to come back. Again, we're talking with Dan Mooney. He's the Regional Vice President and Senior Commercial Lender for Wesbanco, and that covers Lawrence and Scioto County. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
So, Pat, who's coming up on our 2 o'clock show?
At 2 o'clock, we have Chuck Maxim. Chuck owns Just Strictly Ceramics Studio, an artist. I love the way he can craft different kinds of things out of a bunch of clay. And then at 3 o'clock, we have Dr. Richard Sachs. Dr. Richard Sachs is the provost here at the University of Rio Grande, and he's going to be talking with Jacob Babst and Ivan Tribe, and they're going to be talking about country music in the Appalachian area.
Ivan wrote a book recently about that.
Yes. So we have 2 great shows. We hope that the listening audience continues to listen. Dan, again, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
listening.